In this video, we're going to explore the Select and the Select Path tool in 3D Coat's retopology room. If you go to the top part of the user interface here in the toolbar, you'll notice you have an auto mode, vertices, edges, and faces mode. If you prefer, you can assign hotkeys to these to correspond with the hotkeys you may be used to in your standard 3D application. To do that, you hover over one of these options and hit the End key on your keyboard to make that assignment. So I'm going to try to assign it to something else that's already predefined to something else, and you'll notice that 3D Coat will tell you what it's assigned to, and if you want you can stack the key or override it by choosing redefine. I'll click cancel, and when you're in auto mode, if you hover in the center of a polygon, 3D Coat will highlight that polygon for you. If you hover over an edge, it's going to highlight that for you, as well as a vertice. So when it's highlighted, just click on it and it is now selected. When you make selections here in the retopology room, it's additive, so you don't have to hold down the shift key. Okay, you just continue clicking. I'll hit escape to drop the selection. Let's go back to auto mode and I'll hover over a face, and you'll notice again 3D Coat is going to switch you to that particular mode. When you're in faces mode, by default you'll probably be in a brush draw mode here in the E panel. You could bring the E panel directly to you so you don't have to keep reaching across your interface each time. And you can switch to something like a freeform lasso if you want to select all the way through. So I'll hit escape, I'll hit my E panel, go back to a brush, and just as you may be used to paint selection in your standard 3D application, again, by default, that's the mode that you have when you are in faces mode. Just kind of brush select. So I hit escape. Same thing with vertices. And just continue brushing, and 3D Coat is adding as you brush along. Alright, and if you want, you can convert it to faces. But as you do, just know that 3D Coat expands your selection. So I'll hit escape. Yeah, let's go back to faces, and I'll just go ahead and make that selection. And if you look to the lower left part of your interface in the command section of the tool panel, you'll see the tools change contextually when you switch between the different modes. And that's because some of these are very specific to the sub-object selection mode you have chosen. So for example, with faces, I'm going to hit escape and just brush select this thigh pad area here. And let's say I wanted to extrude this. I don't have that option if I'm in vertices or edges mode, but I do have it when I'm in faces mode to extrude, which basically is much like using the Extrude tool in Maya, or maybe the Inset or Bevel tool inside of 3D Studio Max. So you can extrude it inward along the surface, or you can simply just move it freely in 3D space. So I'll go over this tool in more detail in another video, but I just wanted to mention that it works in conjunction with the Select tool. So I'll hit escape to drop the tool, but the selection remains intact. Hit escape. Let's say you're in auto mode and your brush size is rather large. You'll get something like this. That's because your brush spans across multiple sub-objects such as faces, edges, and vertices, and 3D Coat is confused at this stage as to what you're trying to select. So you need to use your bracket keys to reduce or increase your brush size accordingly so that it doesn't span across multiple sub-objects. So let's click again on our face, and now we are switched back to faces mode. Okay, so I'll hit escape again. Also want to mention one other thing is you have the option when you make a selection, if you hit escape, it's going to leave you in this mode, the faces mode. So I'll hit escape, brush select, and if I were to click clear selection, rather than leave me in faces mode, it's going to automatically switch me to auto mode. So I'll go ahead and click on clear selection, and you'll see how it switches me. So you have the option whichever you prefer. If you make a selection, escape is one way, as well as clicking clear selection. You can also click it here in the command section, or you can bring the tool panel to you by hitting the space bar, and you can clear it here as well. One other way to deselect is a universal keystroke combination throughout 3D Code. Whether you're painting masks or make any kind of selection with tools in the sculpt room, such as the pose tool, you can clear that selection by hitting the Control D keystroke combination. If you're on a Mac, it's probably Command D. We'll go over in another video the different options that are available that pertain to the separate sub-object selections. Let's now look at the Select Path tool. It's practically identical to the UV Path tool. The lone difference is that the UV Path tool is selecting UV seams, whereas the Select Path tool is selecting edges. So let me go ahead and click the first point. You'll see the purple highlighted initial point, and you can use it kind of as a point-to-point seam selection by just clicking individual vertices this way. And when you get to the last point, if you want to close this, if you try to click this first point, it's not going to do anything because 3D Code doesn't know whether or not you want to move this or not. So what we need to do to prevent any confusion is just click any one of these points prior to this last one, such as this one, and click and drag it over the top. So once you have a selection created the way you want, it's highlighted purple like this, you can hit the Enter key to convert it to an edge selection. That purple highlight is just letting you know it's a preview of what will be selected if you hit the Enter key. If I want to make another selection, 3D Code is assuming I want to start from the same point, so I'm going to undo. What I need to do is clear this first point by hitting Escape. And I want to mention that 3D Code, in this particular tool, when you hit Escape, it sort of overrides the normal Escape function because it's assigning it to that preview. It will clear the preview selection, not your regular selection. If you wanted to clear an edge selection after you've already made it, there are a couple different ways to handle it. Use the Control D keyboard combination, or you could switch back to the Select tool and use the button to clear it. So let's try this again. Let's say if I want to make a seam selection here. Again, I can kind of create point to point if I want. So I'll just click the first point and the last point. And 3D Code is going to look for the shortest path. You have some options here for maximum straightness and path length, but for the most part, you really don't need to be concerned with that. It works very well trying to interpret what you want to do. So for example, if I wanted to kind of change this edge flow, I could do that by clicking an intermediate point and dragging it. I can do the same thing here. And just continue clicking more points if I need. Let's go ahead and remove some of these points if we want. In other words, if I want to kind of straighten this back up, I can just double click over a point. 3D Code will remove it. Just continue doing that. I can drag that one back. Double click that one. It's not really necessary, but so yeah, I can hit the Enter key. Once I've made an edge selection like this, in the command section of the tool panel, you can scroll down to Set Seams. So I can convert this to a UV seam selection as well. Let's click that. And if we go to our UV seams, you can see it's already created that. Okay. I'm going to hold Control Shift to deselect that entire seam there. Let's go back to the Select Path tool. You also have this option here for Prefer Seams. So if you have a UV seam selection, it's going to try and follow that seam selection as much as possible. The next thing we want to take a look at is storing your selections as selection sets. So let me go ahead and make this selection once more. I'll hit the Enter key. And if I scroll to the bottom, I can click on the Store Selection button. And you can load the selection at a later point. This will also work in the Select tool as well, here at the very bottom. Let me hit the Escape key. The last thing I want to touch on is when you're in Faces mode, if you want to quickly select all the faces on a given object, you can just double tap on a given polygon and it will select all contiguous faces. And with that, we'll conclude this look at the Select and the Select Path tool in 3D Coat. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next video.